Imagine standing in front of a massive hand-carved oak wardrobe. Inside of it, it's packed with beautiful, high-quality silk and linen garments that you've spent years collecting. You spend every single morning at the sewing machine trying to stitch together something brand new from scratch because you feel like you have nothing to wear. You're exhausted. Your fingers are sore, and the room is filled with fabric scraps. This is exactly what it looks like when a seasoned entrepreneur treats every social media post or newsletter like a brand new emergency. You are sitting on a gold mine of wisdom, yet you're acting like a pauper in the content kitchen. We're walking through the power of content repurposing in 2026 today, but stay with me until the end because as I do, I share one of the specific shifts that turned my own struggle into grace. It's the perspective that most people miss. The reality of the modern digital landscape is that creating from a blank page is the fastest route to burnout. Most small business owners aren't actually in the business of content creation, but it often feels like they are. They spend their precious hours on research, planning, and execution, only to have that effort disappear into the digital void in 24 hours. Everyone's dancing for that TikTok machine. When you start every piece of content from scratch, you aren't building a legacy, girl. You're just feeding the hungry ghost that is never satisfied. Remember, if we're not feeding it, they don't have a business. If you're new to our circle, welcome to Glitter and Grace Co. I'm Michelle, and I'm here to help you navigate your graceful pivot towards a soft life of sophisticated simplicity while helping you build your quiet income through your digital boutique. Think of your business as a quiet, sun-drenched library. In this library, you have your master volumes. These are your long-form blog posts, your deep dive guides, or your recorded workshops. Repurposing is simply the act of taking one of those master volumes and placing a few choice quotes on a display table or reading a chapter aloud to a small group in the garden. You aren't writing a new book, you're simply sharing the wisdom that is already on the shelf. Consider the story of a woman that I worked with who spent decades as a specialist in her field. She decided to pivot into a digital boutique, but she found herself paralyzed by the content grind. She felt that she had to be a creator first and then an expert second. Once she realized that her 20 existing long-form articles were actually the seeds for her 2 years of social media, she stopped grinding and she started curating. She moved from the noise of the hustle into the peace of her quiet income because she let her existing assets do the heavy lifting for her. To begin this shift, we need a way to look at what you already own with fresh eyes. This isn't a technical hack. It's a strategic audit of your intellectual property. You already own it. You should use it. You look at your website, your sent email, and your old presentations to find the hidden gems. You evaluate these pieces based on how they actually performed. Or did they provide a solution that people are still asking for today? Once you identify these high-value pieces, you can begin the process of breathing new life into them. This process begins by asking 3 simple questions. First, what's the core truth of this piece that will never go out of style? Second, who needs to hear this truth today who might not have been in your circle a year ago? Third, what is the simplest way to deliver that truth without needing a production crew? When you answer these, you stop being a slave to the algorithm. You start being the architect of your own time. Understanding which pieces of your history are worth bringing into your future is the first step toward a sustainable digital boutique. But even the most beautiful content won't serve your legacy if it doesn't have a clear destination. If you've ever spent an afternoon going through a vintage trunk in an attic, you know that not everything that you find is meant to be put on display. Some things are beautiful, but fragile. Others are sturdy, but they no longer fit the person that you've become. The same is true for your digital inventory. Content repurposing is not about throwing everything that you've ever written at a wall to see what sticks. It is about identifying the golden thread, the core pieces of wisdom that remain relevant today, regardless of the season. When you find that thread, you can weave it into dozens of different patterns without ever losing the original integrity of that original message. The struggle that most women face is that they feel that they must keep up with every new trend. They see a younger creator dancing on a screen and they feel the ping of guilt that they're not doing the same. But your boutique business isn't built on trends. It's built on legacy. Legacy content is the material that solves the foundational problem for your audience. It is the blog post that people still comment on 3 years later. It's the email that prompted a dozen replies saying, I needed to hear that today. These are your anchor assets, and they are the only things worthy of your repurposing energy. Imagine a boutique owner who discovers a bolt of rare, high-quality fabric in the back of her shop. Instead of selling it as a single piece of cloth, she decides to create a signature line. She makes one stunning evening gown as her centerpiece. From the remaining fabric, she crafts a series of elegant scarves, a set of delicate pocket squares, and even a few fabric-covered journals. Each item carries the same quality and the feel of the original gown, but they serve different people at different price points and in different settings. She hasn't worked harder, she has worked with more intention. This is exactly how we treat a long-form article or a recorded workshop. To apply this, you need a framework for selection. We start by looking for evergreen appeal. Ask yourself, if the advice you gave 2 years ago would still help someone today? If the answer is yes, then this is your gown. Next, we look for the format flexibility. Can this spoken workshop be easily transcribed into a series of curated social media captions? Can this technical guide be turned into a visual checklist? Finally, we look for the engagement history. Your audience has already told you what they love. Go back to your analytics and find the quiet winners, the posts that may not have gone viral but led to the most meaningful discovery calls or sales. Think of a woman that I worked with that felt like she was drowning in the need to reproduce weekly podcasts. She was constantly hunting for new guests and new topics, and her energy was depleted. When she pivoted to a repurposing mindset, she took her 10 most popular episodes and broke them down. One episode became a 4-week email series. Each email was distilled into 3 short-form videos and a handful of meaningful quotes. Suddenly, she had 6 months of content mapped out from work that she had already done. She didn't lose her voice, she amplified it. She stopped shouting into the wind, and she started building a resonance that lasted with her customers and the people who were listening to her podcast already. This strategic selection is the bridge between a content creator and being a digital boutique owner. One is the job that never ends, and the other is a business that serves your life. Once you've selected your golden asset, you must understand the mechanical transformation, how to actually change the shape of your wisdom without losing its soul. Think of a classic vintage car restoration. When a collector finds a 1957 Chevy Bel Air in a dusty barn, they don't try to make it into a modern electric SUV. That ruins the whole soul of that machine. Instead, they strip it down to the chassis, clean the chrome, and perhaps update the engine so it can handle modern roads while keeping that iconic silhouette. Repurposing is exactly like this. You aren't changing the soul of your message, but you are updating the engine so it can travel on different platforms. A long-form article is a sturdy chassis, but on Instagram, it needs a bit more chrome and shine to catch that eye. The mistake many make is thinking that repurposing is simply copying and pasting. If you take a 3,000-word white paper and paste it into a Facebook post, you haven't repurposed it. You've just made it unreadable. True transformation requires you to understand that the language of the new space is going to need to adjust to the format that you're using. Twitter, or X, speaks in punchy, provocative sentences. Pinterest speaks in visual aspiration. Your email list speaks in intimate, one-on-one conversations. To move your wisdom from one to the other, you must be able to dismantle it from the original structure and rebuild its meaning using the same high-quality materials. Consider a woman who had a library of recorded coaching calls. She felt these were all one and dones, these sessions that she was working on. But she realized that they were actually a masterclass in human psychology. She took a single 5-minute segment where she explained a complex concept and had it transcribed. That transcript became a beautifully designed PDF guide, which she used as a lead magnet. Then she took the audio from the same segment and turned it into a private podcast episode for her inner circle of women. One conversation, which took an hour of her time originally, was now serving 3 different groups of people in 3 different ways. As you look at your own assets today, use this 3-point transformation framework. First, identify the core nugget, the one sentence or idea that stands alone without the rest of the context. Second, choose your medium shift. If it started as a text, move it into an audio or a visual. If it started as a video, move it into the written word. Third, apply context filters. Ask yourself how someone viewing this on their phone will receive it compared to the person sitting at their desk with a cup of coffee. This ensures your message lands with grace rather than adding to the digital noise. I worked with an entrepreneur woman that felt that she was constantly shouting to be heard into a crowded market. She was creating new videos every day, and she felt that her message was getting diluted. When she shifted to the transformation protocol, she stopped creating new videos and spent a month only transforming her top 5 pieces of content. Her engagement actually went up because her audience was finally seeing her most powerful work more than once. They weren't bored. They were finally getting it. She moved from a place of frantic shouting to a place of resonant authority. Now we come to the shift I teased about at the very beginning of the video, the one perspective that changes the struggle into grace. Most people view content as a way to get attention. They think of it as a lure to catch a fish. But when you build a digital boutique, you must view your content as a service of remembrance. You aren't trying to catch anyone. You're simply reminding your circle of the truths that they already know but have forgotten in the rush of life. When you repurpose your wisdom, you're saying, this truth was important last year, and it is still important today. I'm bringing it back to you because I care about your peace. This shift takes the pressure off going viral, and it puts the focus back on being valuable. It turns your marketing into a ministry of sorts, a way to walk in grace while building your quiet income. If you got any value from this video today, be sure to like and share and join our circle by subscribing. It's free to you and it helps build our group of women. Remember to find your glimmer today and walk in grace. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.